There's no arguing that people love their cars.
We won't argue.
And people who love their cars love to tinker with them. Some people tinker big, some people tinker small. And that's where Supercheap Auto comes in. We've been helping people tinker for 50 years. For people like Bill, Lucy, Kevin, other Kevin.
Oi, get off my car!
Didn't catch this guy's name. Not Patrick. He doesn't shop with us. Whoever you are, whatever you drive, we'll help you make it super.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 11 of the Supercheap Auto V8 East Coast Series. I'm John Van Reeve. Me tonight, I've got Mark Duggan. Welcome, Mark. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, John. Good to be back after a few weeks off on holiday. So, yeah, looking forward to this one. Sebring, one of the best tracks, I think, for the V8s. Always great racing around here.
Yeah, very enjoyable. It's an awesome-looking track. Those who haven't seen Sebring before, of course. It's built on an old 1940s airbase with one beautiful runway that we run down. But we basically start off at the start-finish line going down the taxiway, swinging through the big open sweeping turn 1 where we come off the concrete onto the bitumen into turn 2, turn 3, 4, 5 complex. Another very tight, twisty complex. Getting out of 5 is always difficult. In around the big bend on 6, look for a little bit of side-by-side action through there as we come down the fast sweeping, hard braking turn 7 into the hairpin, where we then come around through 8 and 9 onto the Fangio straight and up all the way into turn 10 at Cunningham, the hard braking 90-degree turn to the right. Then we sweep through Collier, turn 11 and 12, and into the hard braking tower at turn 13, where you got to get a good exit to get the power and the speed heading down through Bishop, where you got to back the car off for turn 15, and then you've got to get 15, 16 right as you come through Le Mans. Good power down, get the car going as quick as you can down the Ullman Straight, which is the old runway. And then through one of the most spectacular corners in iRacing, Sunset Bend, around, back onto the start-finish straight. So the circuit's 5.95 kilometres, 17 turns. This is a long one. It's a bumpy one, and it's a hard one.
Yeah, absolutely, John. It's going to test all the drivers tonight, but one of the great things about this place is the history of it, but also the bumps and the absolute fast pace of this circuit. So there's a lot going to be happening tonight, and really looking forward to being back in the seat watching these boys duke it out.
Yeah, and that's what they've been doing. They have been duking this out most of the season. As we have a quick look at the points here. So after 10 rounds with 2 to go, we've calculated the 2 drop rounds. So our championship leader at the moment is our current series champion, Brenton Hobson. Can he be the first guy to go back-to-back champion? That'll be the big question being asked for the rest of this season now. Not far behind him is his teammate, Damien Johnstone. James Chastaneath from Banter Alliance Racing sitting in 3rd. Another guy who's always been knocking on the door at being champion. Not far from it if he can get a good result for these last 2 races. Paul Young, his teammate, sits in 4th. Then Christian Smart, Ben Morris, a great improver to see Ben sitting in the top 10. Michael Angus, Beef Cheeks from Fishy Motorsport. Him sitting there in 7th is another great achievement. Young Zach McDonald in 8th. Harrison Dengate in 9th. The younger brigade starting to take over in the series. Then not to mention Chris Miller sitting in 10th. So the series is really starting to come along as we get into the final part of the season.
Yeah, it's an interesting top 10 there, John. Some names in there you probably didn't expect at the beginning of the season, and a few names missing that we would have expected. But I guess the way things have panned out for a lot of drivers, some drivers have had to miss rounds due to work commitments, family commitments, and other racing commitments. So the boys who have forced their way into the top 10 have taken every advantage, and they're all looking good.
Oh, absolutely. It's been some great efforts going on from a few of these guys to stay consistent in the middle. We've got a few names back tonight. We had some thinner fields as we've gone through some rougher looking circuits. But as we can see at the moment, as the boys have all got their first laps on the board, we've got James Scott leading the qualifying charge, followed by Robert Gibbs, Adam Briggs, Damien Johnstone, Kenny Ladder, Warboys, Hobson, Rudd, Morris, Young. So it's going to be definitely on for young and old tonight. Big shout out to Steve Murray, of course. He's in our YouTube chat. And if you are sitting there along at home watching this one, let us know who you're supporting, and we'll make sure we try and keep a bit of an eye on how they're getting on this evening. So it's going to be an interesting one. I think all these boys getting ready for the first round of the Pro Series tomorrow night. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do. Some interesting ones to keep an eye on as well. Funky Miller, he's had a good series in the 666 car. Michael Stewie Stewart, he's battled away really well, sitting back in 22nd at the moment. Michael Whiting's with us again this evening, so is Michael Angus, Thomas Freeman, so the Fishy boys are back. Of course, always good to have them. Plenty of burley thrown in the water to get them back on the track. And Dylan Rudd's also racing with us tonight, so we've got a pretty cracking looking field looking at it, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. Zach McDonald with us as well from the 9.5 Simsport team. He's been driving really well, and yeah, like you said earlier, super impressive. James Chastanet always putting himself in a good position to collect good points every week. So James has been super impressive this week, but he's going to have his work cut out tonight. We've got a pretty talented field here tonight, so it's going to be difficult for everyone to maximise tonight because there's so much competition.
Absolutely. Chasty will need to keep his wits about him. There's the boys now coming on their out laps, all looking for a bit of open space. Try not to cook these tyres as they go around. As we said, it's a nearly 5-kilometre circuit to get around, 17 corners. So it'll be interesting to see how a few of these lads go. Someone off on the grass there. It's probably not a good spot to start either. That looks like it might have been Funky. Of course, Jamie McKnight, the People's Champion, he's out there running around as well this evening. I mean, see what Jamie can do. Set a time on that first round of laps that the boys have done. James Scott's also in this train. This is a really bumpy, difficult track to get set up and get the car working really well. And of course, we are playing with some interesting track conditions tonight as well. We've got a 13-kilometre wind breeze blowing at 135 degrees. It's 30-degree air temperature, 33% humidity. It's clear, but the track temperature is 49 degrees. So that's going to be slippery and bumpy and going to make it hard work for these boys, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Scramble some eggs on that bad boy tonight.
Definitely scrambling some Dunlop rubber. And of course, we've got to remember tonight too that the boys have to make 2 compulsory pit stops, and they have 25 incident points available to them. So it'll be interesting to see how we progress through this race tonight with these tyres. Don't get too many safety cars around this place because of the open conditions, but in saying that, I think we had one at Scops, if memory serves me correct. So it'll be rather interesting to see how these boys go about their business tonight.
Yeah, there's some big braking areas in this track and some pretty heavy brake forces and engine braking. So sometimes you do see a couple of blown motors around here, so that could warrant a safety car, but there is a fair bit of runoff. So anyway, we'll just take it as it comes. If there's a safety car, we'll enjoy the fact that it'll bunch the field up. If not, there'll still be plenty of battles right through the field.
Absolutely. Looking here, James Scott's allowing a little bit of space in front of him, but not too much where he might be able to still capitalise on the draft a little bit. So some interesting teamwork going on already with the Synergy Sim Racing team. But as you can see, a lot of concrete changing onto bitumen around this place. Let's see what these boys can do as we start to get some of these times come through in a minute. So you can see Jamie McKnight's gone green in his first sector. It hasn't improved in the other sectors after that. But the man keep an eye on at the moment, James Scott, is on screen with us. James, of course, is our championship leader at the moment. Sorry, not championship leader, sorry. He's our leading the board at the moment. And the man to look out for in the tennis ball colour car in front of him is Brenton Hobson, our championship leader. McKnight looks like he's got another green sector on the board. Might just quickly jump to Jamie and just see where he's travelling. But Jamie's coming down the Ullman Straight. In the ZB tonight is Jamie. That gives you a good idea of which car you want to be in. Nice and tight through Sunset and straight into the pits. Thanks, Jamie. Let's jump back to James Scott. He is moving it. Already tucked right up behind his teammate. So maybe getting slowed down a little bit here. Michael Whiting with a couple of green sectors.
Yeah, James Scott closed in on Kenneth Ladder fairly quickly on this lap, so I'm not sure how he's going to pan out at the end, but he's going to get a good tow down this back straight, so it may pay off for him in the end.
So Hobson, of course, our current champion. He's set a couple of green sectors in this lap going through. Let's see, Scott's in pink though. And does Hobbo improve? Coming down the start-finish line. And Hobson moves himself up into 5th. Big move from Hobson. Scott into the pits, so he's bailed on that one. Well, got to get some streaking somewhere. Not sure who that was. And Briggs is sitting in 3rd. Dylan Rudd jumps to P2. The 9.5er. Great cracking effort there. Let's keep an eye on here for a few more of the big names. So at the moment, I think these guys, with such a large lap time, probably going to get one more crack at this. So I've got James Scott, Dylan Rudd in 2nd, Robert Gibbs from Evolution Racing sitting in 3rd. 4th is Adam Briggs from Synergy with Damien Johnstone, Hobbs Ladder. Warboy's in the top 10 in 8th. Freeman in 9th, Morris is 10th, Young is 11, 12 is Whiting, Angus 13, Chastity is 14, and Matty Masgood in 15, which is great to see Matty advancing up the board a bit in front of Troy Maguire and Tim Mulford and Zach McDonald.
Yeah, Matty Mascott doing a great job, and he's starting to get some runs on the board with some consistent racing, so he's gaining speed every week. Timmy Mulford, another one who's doing a great job. It's good to have Tim in the series, and he's always fighting hard every week, and he's doing a great job out there.
Yeah, absolutely, and a big shout out, of course, to Joshua Barella. Yeah, Ashley's racing tonight. Apparently cricket season's finished. So he's back in the car. So yeah, Ash back out on track, or off track. Just jumped somewhere else. There's Dylan. Looks like he's having a fairly quick lap back to the pits. James Scott still hasn't gone out again. Stephen Murray asking about Roy Clark. No Roy Clark tonight. So he's going to have to find somebody else to use for the Supercheap Auto replay. And Dylan heading into the pits like I thought. And we might just jump back down a little bit, have a look at Dengate's out this evening as well. And Chris Funky Miller. Quantum Pecky Performance Racing. Although it's a good looking livery that gets pumped out of the Pecky boys. Michael Whiting's out on track. What can Michael do? Not much quicker. Might be towing Angus around behind him, maybe. Still in 13th. No major improvements out of that group. Not long to go. Down into the last 5 minutes of qualifying here.
Yeah, everybody just coming out for their last run now, so James Scott back out on track as well.
James doing a slower outlap, this time tucked behind Hobson, getting himself out of the flow. Getting himself out of the way of Barilla.
Now with that 49, 50 degree track temperature, you really want to be taking it easy on your outlap, because these tyres will only last one lap at that temperature around here. So James is, as we know, very experienced and great at extracting a time out of the car, so he knows exactly what he has to do.
Absolutely. was tucked up behind someone. He probably doesn't really want to be at the end of this train. Of course, that's Ben Morris in front of him. So just see what goes on here. So still going to be seeing James trying to get out of that pack a little bit more. Ben being smart, trying to stay behind. He's continuing along. He's continuing along. James is off here. Let's see what he can do. A little bit loose. No, as you can see, tackling up. Got Gibbs in front of him. Gibbs bails out. Ben Gates on a bit of a quicker lap as well. Curious maybe they're asking about the Supercheap Auto Series or the Logitech Series. Supercheap Auto Series is season 6 is starting soon. I can cut and paste the link if you like. It's continuing on here. James Scott using all the curb here and then some. Absolutely pushing this to the limit. It's not very often I've seen James on the ragged edge like this, Mark.
James probably feeling like he's got the time on the board now and he can afford to throw everything at this lap, and he's willing to risk everything. So he's really got nothing to lose. He's in pole at the moment. I don't think he's going to be challenged, to be honest. So worth throwing everything at it.
Absolutely. And continuing along. Coming through Sunset, what'll be his final time. He's into the pits. I thought that might be the case. Dylan Rudd going all the way out to the wall. Well, and hits the wall. Fair chance he won't get the time for that one. Hobson, what can he do? Hobbo coming down the straight, heading to the hairpin. Teammate Adam Briggs in front of him, of course. Hobbo's just messed up that one, so Hobbo's out of the battle. Missed the apex. So Adam Briggs and Dylan Rudd are the only two guys on track that can improve. Briggs has stopped. Rudd might be trying again, but I don't think he'd have it in him after hitting the wall coming onto the straight. But we'll wait and see. Sounds like he's pulling the car up as well. Any ladder? It's our last man on track. Tim Mulford's probably the only one with green sectors left. Where's Timmy? Phoenix Racing entry. And Blake Warboy's the other man to keep an eye on. course, Tim Mulford from Phoenix Racing, teammates with the whiz kid himself, Leon Leonage. With practice going in. And into sunset. Keep the car composed. Around the final corner, a little bit wide. Takes it all the way out to the tyres. What can Timmy do here? And he stays in 19th spot. Ladder, I don't think will improve. Next man to keep an eye on, of course, is War Boys. What can Blake do? Sitting in 9th at the moment, with only one green sector. Thinking the track might have gone away from a few of these guys here at the end. Of course, we're playing with that hot track temperature.
Yeah, track's just come down a degree there. Timmy Mulford, I think, jumped from 19th to 17th there, so that was a good last outing for him on that final qualifying run. I think that's everyone done now, so
yep.
Boys will look forward to the warm-up and then get underway for some racing.
Yeah, definitely be looking forward to that one. As we just wait here for the moment and wait for the track to switch over. But this is going to be a really tough one. I think a few of these boys are going to struggle a little bit with this track temperature. I think we've got a little bit of a mixed field as well from that qualifying run. So let's have a look at that grid as we bring it up. On pole, we've got James Scott from Synergy Sim Racing. Alongside him, we've got Dylan Rudd. Besides Dylan Rudd, next row back. Of course, Dylan from 95 Sim Sport. Next row back, we've got Evolution Racing Team's Robert Gibbs. Alongside our reigning champion, Brenton Hobson from Synergy Sim Racing. On the next row, in the third one, we have Adam Briggs from Synergy alongside his teammate Damien Johnstone. And then we have another Synergy driver in Kenneth Ladder in 7th, followed by Thomas Freeman from Fishy Motorsports, rounding out the 8. 9th is WK&P's Blake Warboys. 10 is Faceball Motorsports' Ben Morris. 11 is the first of our Banter Alliance drivers in Paul Young. In 12 is the big fish himself, Michael Whiting. As we go over to the next page, we have Beef Cheeks Michael Angus from Fishy Motorsports alongside Christian Smart from Synergy Sim Racing. 9.5's Whiz Kid Zach McDonald in 15th with James Chastaneef in 16th from Banter Alliance. Phoenix Motorsports Tim Mulford lines up alongside Matty Muscoord from Synergy Sim Racing. Fishy Motorsports Troy Maguire in 19th lines up alongside Harrison Dencape from WK&P. 21st, we have Banter Alliance's Warren Davis alongside Michael Stewie Stewart from Hypersonic Racing in 22nd. 23rd, we have the People's Champion from Synergy Sim Racing, Jamie McKnight, alongside Chris Funky Miller from Quantum Pecky Performance Racing. And then we come on to the next page. We've got Ash Barella from WK&P, back with Tom Freer from Synergy Sim Racing. Dave Coleman from Fishy Motorsports has got himself into the server as well. And in 28th is Seb, our race control, alongside our safety car, Richard Barella. Gunther von Nordschleife is our other race control person, and for some reason, some other Muppet decided to join the server instead of a spectator as a driver. So, hello. And that is our grid, Mark.
Yeah, interesting grid. Got to be interesting to see Tom Freer running from the back of the grid and how he will progress through the field. It's going to be some pretty intense racing, I think, as it is always around Sebring.
Oh, absolutely. You've really got to keep an eye on for turn 1 and 2, that big sweeping turn in turn 1, funneling down into the tight left-hander at 2. Then, of course, where she opens up again, going down out of 3 and 4, we open up and go around that big sweeper down that back straight to the hairpin. That's the other spot to keep an eye on in these early laps. Hopefully, we can all get through cleanly, settle into a good race pace. This is a good track where you can run too wide if you've got good drivers around you.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned earlier, there's lots of bumps here, and there's a couple of tall curbs as well that can catch you out if you're not careful. So we're just about to get underway here.
2, 3, 4, 5. Green flag, lights are out, we are away. James Scott's done better than he did in Scops. He's managed to get a good start off the front line. But this flyer man there behind him, of course, is Gibbs. Gibbs is coming right. They're going to squeeze him out here. We're going to get through this turn or not. About too much carnage at the back. Looking like we're going to be okay as they drop off the concrete onto the bitumen. As it is Robert Gibbs from ERT in front of Dylan Rudd from 95 Sim Sports. James Scott tucking in. Big winner as well. Damien Johnstone already up 2 spots as well. Hobson back 1. Briggs, Freeman, Warboys, Ladder, Morris. So looking so far that everyone's getting through cleanly. This is a great start.
Great jump from Rob Gibbs there. He's been able to jump ahead of James Scott, and he's looking good in the lead at the moment. Dylan Rudd putting the pressure on Buck from behind.
Absolutely, Dylan doing really well. And James nicely tucked in into this group. So this group of cars all the way back to 6 with Adam Briggs here, all nicely bunched up. Dropping back a little bit to Warboys, who's dropped back to a second behind Briggs. But this lead group of 6 cars, definitely looking very racy. Of course, 44 laps tonight, 2 pit stops. Interesting to see what strategies play out with these guys. But a great start by Robert Gibbs to take the lead of the race. And of course, they'll be very happy with how that one's running. And plenty of traffic around the great man, James Scott. See Damien Johnstone, Brenton Hobson and Briggs tucked up behind.
They come around to complete lap 1. We've got Robert Gibbs, followed by Dylan Rudd, James Scott, Jamie Johnson, Brenton Hobson, Adam Briggs, Blake Warboys, Kenneth Ladder, Thomas Freeman, Ben Morris. That's your 10 at the moment. So everybody starting to settle into a little bit of the rhythm after 5 kilometres of racing so far.
Absolutely doing really well, the boys. As Gibbs looking very composed. Broken out a slight little gap on Rudd at the moment. Scott looking a bit racy on Rudd. That gap now down to 0.1. Is he going to come into the hairpin? Hard under brakes. James Scott nicely sweeps through. Gibbs the next man in front. Rudd's not going to give away that easy though.
No, Dylan's not going to give it away, but I think he played the wise game there. He gave James a fair bit of room to complete the move there, and Dylan probably feels like he's better off keeping eyes forward rather than kind of having to look in his mirror watching James come up behind him. So I'm sure Dylan will use James to get back up onto the rear of Robert Gibbs, and they'll fight on.
Absolutely. Long way to go. This is going to be an epic battle, I think. Gibbs is flying here. Of course, James doing really well. Might just wander back a little bit, have a bit of a look. Ben Morris is in 10th at the moment. So the Phase 4 Motorsport car doing really well. He's chasing down Thomas Freeman in front. Paul Young from Banter Alliance behind. Then we slide a little bit further back. Hobson on the move, sorry, jumping up here. Briggs on the move for Hobson, sorry. Other way around. And looks like we might get it done. James Scott, 0.1 of a lap faster than Gibbs in front of him. But he's going to hold on as Brenton Hobson. Michael Whiting, 2 wide with Zach McDonald. So a little bit racy down the back. Someone going a little bit wide. Blake Warboys has just had an incident. I'm not sure what happened there. I think Hobson might have been involved as well. Let's keep an eye here on Warboys. Supercheap Auto replay. Hobson's gone wide. Hobson's been collected. Warboys has tried to avoid the incident in front of him with Hobson. And that's what's caused everything to go wrong. Ash Barella may have been involved there somewhere as well. No, he's a bit further back, the one we saw. Go back to live pictures there. Still a bit unlucky for War Boys. And Hobson as well. So I'm interested to keep an eye on how they fight back through. Briggs dropping further down the order as well. I'm not sure Briggs, he's gone wide there on the chicane. Sorry, on the hairpin. So Briggs has had an incident of his own. We're going to go to the Supercheap Auto replay. This is too wide with ladder. And under brakes, the two of them side by side into the hairpin. And Briggs getting smart, not turning in on his teammate and taking the long way round. So a little bit of smart driving there from Briggsy, but losing a lot of spots. Let's continue to have a look now as things sort of settle down again, hopefully. Continuing on, Robert Gibbs under a lot of pressure from James Scott. He's going to jump back to a battle back here. These guys here are already too wide. Great little one here. It's sort of going from... Troy Maguire. Right up, tucked in behind Tim Mulford. Freya in the mix there. The new looking blue livery. So some good.
Yeah, Adam Briggs has lost a bunch of places there. He's dropped back to the very rear of the field. He probably got a slowdown as well for going out through there. So, yeah, it's a shame for Adam.
Yeah, real shame. Hopefully, safety car or a little bit of help, he might be able to get himself back into it. Just quickly work my way forward. One of the big movers, Zach McDonald's up into the top 10. He's done really well with everything going on around him. He's got himself up 5 spots. And he's doing really well there. He's sort of got a bit of clear air. Well, very little bit of clear air, not much, but enough clear air in front and behind. So hopefully he can settle in now. We're only 4 or 44 laps here, so still a long way to go.
Yeah, still a hell of a lot of racing miles to go, but Zach's been a bit of a revelation in this series this season. He's been a welcome addition from the 9-5 Sim Sport stable, and he's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, doing really well. Let's just jump back up the front, check on how Robert Gibbs is getting on.
This gap is closed down again now, so we've got Gibbs, James Scott and Dylan Rudd nose to tail at the moment, so there's nothing in it for these 3 boys.
Drop Damien Johnstone a little bit behind, and Kenneth Ladder's a further 3 seconds back, so these boys racing very hard for the podium.
Yeah, absolutely. I think once these 3 boys start battling, we probably see Damien get back on the back of these 3, I think. So they may end up slowing each other up slightly if they start battling too hard.
You can see Sunset, one of these corners where there's a slightly different line for everybody. Coming down now into turn 1. Big sweeping corner. This one you got to get the car balanced. Then get ready for the bump as you switch onto the bitumen.
Yeah, it's one of those tracks, I don't know if it's a different line for everybody or you just can't ever replicate the line you skipped the lap before.
I think it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, I think. Continuing along here. So Scott just dropping Rudd a little bit. And very hard braking down into this hairpin here. There we go. Briggs has got a drive-through penalty. Contact with Hobson. So a teammate called his teammate in. It's a big call. All of race control got it on their own.
That'll be an interesting debrief.
Yeah.
In the transporter.
You're like going to a McLaren debrief. As you can see, it's a unique circuit. You can see why World Endurance Championship used it for one of their 12-hour circuits.
Yeah, read some interesting comments from Scotty McLaughlin on Twitter this week in regards to how much he learnt from running this track in iRacing for his endurance spot in the LMP2, I think he was in, and he said he learnt a lot just from doing laps in iRacing. It helped him on the weekend, so that was interesting.
Yeah, it was great to see him getting a result here. Very awesome to see. And good for motorsport. Bit of a touch of a wall there, be very subtle, wouldn't have done much damage. Dylan nicely tucked in. As this battle looks like it's settled a little bit, might just go a bit further back. Have a look how Michael Whiting's getting on. Hey, Michael tucked right up behind Paul Young. Dave Coleman's in an incident. So there's a few others. Might just have a look what happened here. Correction, points race penalty to Adam Briggs. He redressed on track, so that might have been part of parking it up down at the hairpin as well. So there we go. Race control doesn't always get it right the first time, but they eventually get it right. So we'll just have a look what happened to Coleman. See if there's a bit more on that. We've got one of the fishy cars wide, 2 fishy cars, 3 fishy cars. That just looks like a whole school to me. That's not what you want to see with your teammates, that one. Anyway, we'll let them swim on for another day. As that gap up front's closed right down again.
Yeah, really impressed with Robert Gibbs. He's been another revelation in this series. He's absorbing this pressure fantastically well at the moment from James Scott, and he's just leading from the front and doing his own thing. He's been under pressure for quite a few laps now, and just absorbing it lap after lap. Not sure how long this will last, but it just seems like he's got just enough pace at the moment to hold James Scott off, and James is probably going to have to make a big move under brakes to get past.
Yeah, I got a feeling it's coming. Dylan's hanging on to these boys as well, which is great to see for the 9.5 SimSport team. So it's pretty awesome when you got a race like this and we've got 3 different teams in the top 3 spots. Some great driving by all 3 of them. Using some curb. So Gibbs, of course. Nicely with the boys tucked up behind him. You can see James Scott getting right up behind under brakes, then pulling away a little bit. Yeah, we might just have a bit of a look. Tom Freo was the man you called out very early on, Mark. Tom's now up 15 spots into 11th.
That's slightly impressive, isn't it? Up 15 spots after 7 laps. So clearly the setup the boys are running from Synergy is working very well for Tom.
Yeah, it's looking very stable, very composed. And driving really well in the 787. So he's looking for him in a yellow car, now he's in a blue one. Of course, he's got Smart, Chastaneef and Dengate behind. Then might just check on how Warboys is going, battling back from that earlier incident. He's running around tucked up behind Mascud and Mulford. Look, he's about to get onto the back of these guys. Of course, that's put him down 8 spots. That incident he had early on, trying to avoid the Briggs Hobson incident. It doesn't take much for things to change around this place. It's Mulford nicely staying on the inside. Warboy's looking for the wider line.
great racing there from Timmy Mulford and Matty Mascord. Very tight racing, but given enough space to each other to race hard and keep on going.
Well, boys, having a look up the inside here. Gets the job done. Moves the eyes forward. Alford's the next man. And of course, big gap in front of these guys. Harrison Dengate is 3.5 seconds up the road from these boys. There's still a long way to fight his way back.
Looks like we've had a change of lead as well.
We have to. And
Got James Scott in front now.
Troy Maguire in the background there just about lost complete control. Yep, Scotty's definitely back in front. Might just have a quick look at that pass. Supercheap Auto replay coming down into the hairpin. Big under brakes. We saw this a bit earlier from James. Very good driving again. So, definitely some fast-paced stuff happening around here. As really looking forward to where we're going to end up here. We're only 8 laps as well, so still a long way to go. Of course, great to see the West End Motor Group banners on the cars tonight. Of course, for those who don't know, the West End Motor Group consists of Too Easy Finance, Parramatta Mazda, Parramatta Isuzu Utes, Parramatta Professional Peugeot Professionals, Parramatta City Haval and Great Wall Motors, Blacktown Mazda, Blacktown City Haval and Great Wall Motors. So if you're in the Sydney market looking for a new vehicle, make sure you go and check out the team at West End Motor Group. They are a cracking bunch of people and more than willing to help you with getting another car. And we're very grateful for their support of the series.
Yeah, great sponsor, great bunch of guys, and yeah, like John said, if you're looking for a car in the Sydney area, pop out and see the boys.
As James Scott's popping out in front here, he's got that gap out to 8.8 of a second now. Might just
James turning on the afterburners at the moment, trying to break the will of the two boys behind and just get himself a bit of a comfort zone. So going to be interesting to see if Robert Gibbs can maintain this distance and just stay in the draft there.
dropping back a little bit is Gibbs. Rudd's just hanging on. Just see Johnstone still hanging in the background. He's not too far behind. Definitely a long way to go.
Yeah, absolute long way to go, and if we've seen in a few earlier incidents tonight, it's so bumpy around here that if you're trying to avoid another incident or something, you can, like Blake Warboys did, you can end up just bouncing the car around in circles and ending off track when you really haven't done much wrong. So yeah, it's just one of them tracks where it can go wrong very quickly here.
Of course, jumping on board with the Nova Castor and Matty Mascoot at the moment. He's still battling away with Timmy Mulford, even though Warboys has gotten past. They're still pretty racy, this group. So it's great to see Mulford. Mascoot having a great battle. Hobson into the pits. It's an early pit stop for Brenton. And we might just jump a bit further up. Paul Young. He's under a bit of pressure here. He's in a bit of a sandwich between Michael Whiting and Ben Morris in front. Michael Whiting looking very racy behind him. So a few of these boys looking to start making a few moves, I think, as we sort of start to get to the mid-range of this first stint.
Yeah, this group, Thomas Freeman, Kenneth Flatter, Ben Morris, Paul Young, Michael Whiting, Tom Freer, they're not that far off the lead, so you know a safety car can can close this down very quickly. So these boys have just got to hang in there, just get their strategy right, not make any mistakes, and if something falls their way, they need to be there to pick up the crumbs.
Absolutely. Definitely why you keep pushing and don't give up. Jump up to our friend Thomas Freeman. He's under a bit of pressure from Kenneth Latter. So these boys all in this back half of this top 10 still battling away very hard.
Yeah, absolutely, they're battling hard, and Tom Frere is snuck into the top 10 now, and he's not far off the back of this group. So yeah, I expect Tom to latch on in the next couple of laps, and then it'll be, obviously it's going to get harder and harder. The further you go forward, the harder it is to get past people, because they're just as quick as you are.
Yeah, it's the old catch-22, isn't it? Let's have a look, jump on board with Tom here. As the driver's eye perspective. So you put a witch's hat for the centre of the apex on top of the wall there. One of the very unusual things that we see at this circuit.
Just looking at the Banner Alliance cars, looks like they've picked up a couple of new sponsors too, and liveries are looking fantastic, and if they are new sponsors, congratulations to the team.
Yes, notice that they had, I think it's KF Kitchen on the front. FK Kitchen, sorry, on the bonnet. Ryco and Person Auto Parts. Definitely a few new sponsors associated with the BAR team.
Disc Brakes Australia on the rear, I think. So yeah, they've picked up quite a few sponsors, and Paul Young doing a great job in 8th spot.
Of course, Paul also Vehicle Finance Solutions as well. Part of the Banter Alliance team. Now let's have a look how Harrison Dengate's getting on. He's in 14th, up 6 spots. Harrison battling away with Christian Smart in front of him. He's having a good race here. Another battle pack. We've got Adam Briggs working his way back from the incident with Hobson early on. He's caught up to the back of Warren Davis. Warren, another one of the Banter Alliance cars. Definitely some battles going on as Briggs looks to make the move into Sunset. Nicely gets it done. And might just have a look. Ben Morris, Paul Young, they're still battling away. Troy Maguire's had an incident. We might just have a quick look, see what's happened to Troy. Looks like it's happened when he's leaving pits. Supercheap auto replay. Into the pits, is it? Oh, he's ended up into the pits. To the wall, bounced off it. Looks like he's going to get it going now. And into the wall for a second time, but that's all right. That won't bring out a safety car. Go back to live pictures.
Unfortunate bit of a forced pit stop there, but and I'm sure it'll work out in the end. James Scott starting to extend his lead now. He's got about 2 seconds over Robert Gibbs at the moment.
You can see him there bouncing away through Le Mans. Getting down the Ullman straight. See, definitely cleared away is James Scott. And Gibbs getting a little bit of distance now on Rudd as well. The boys all starting to clear out a little bit. Very interesting to see how this plays out for the championship, of course, with Damien Johnston, the man who's sitting second in the championship. He's nicely tucked in 4th spot. And Brenton Hobson, the other man we need to be watching, our championship leader, is all the way back in 23rd. So this does have the potential to have some ramifications on the championship, this race tonight, if we were to stop at the moment.
Yeah, Brenton's already taken a pit stop, so he's probably trying to pick up an undercut if he can on his teammate Damien Johnston, but Damien doing a good job. He hasn't lost a little bit of ground in the first couple of laps, but he's been able to maintain that now. He's just got into a good rhythm and he's setting good lap times and consistent lap times. He hasn't lost too much more ground, so interesting move that Brenton's pitted early, and yeah, he's obviously looking for an undercut.
Don't forget too, he also had to pit early because he had that incident where he was bouncing off the walls with Briggs early as well, so hopefully you're not carrying too much damage with that one. There we go, Scott Nolan jumping in, confirming what I was thinking, that Hobbo was struggling with a bit of damage. And speaking of damage, we might just go to the Supercheap Auto replay. What happened to Michael Stewart? This one's coming down in through the fast part of the circuit. Ooh, like a compression lock. Same thing again as we said earlier, this track's got plenty of spots where you can keep it off the wall, and he's done that there. Nicely gets it going again. And Robert Gibbs and Dylan Rudd, absolutely, still nose to tail. Don't forget too, these boys, 2 compulsory pit stops tonight. So of course, probably looking for a first stop if they're doing a split strategy. You're looking their first stop, probably lap 14, 15. So you should start seeing 1 or 2. Morris and Young have come in.
Morris and Young, because I was thinking Thomas Freeman's been able to clear out a little bit, but the reason he's made a bit of a gap is because the other boys have pitted. Tom Freer now up into 7th spot. So yeah, interesting phase of the race now with the pit stop starting to happen.
Of course, and Briggsy pitting as well. And Michael Stewart's pitted. Interesting to see how these 3 up front blink. Even 4 if we take in Damien Johnstone into the equation. Johnstone closing the gap a little bit on Rudd here. Of course, a lap or 2 to the pit stop. Could be hammer time for Johnston.
Yeah, just looking at their quickest laps, and Damien Johnston's actually a couple of 100ths of a second quicker on their quickest lap. So obviously Damien's got plenty of speed in the car.
So these boys all look like they're going again. No one's pitting just yet. Because James Scott out to 4 seconds now. Michael Whiting's the man pit. Might jump on with Dengate. He's very racy now with Stewart. Sorry, with Smart. Dengate's into the pits. Wallboy's into the pits. That's obviously a team call from WK&P. Both in. Chris Smart stays out. Jump back up with our friend Mr. Gibbs. These 3 still battling away pretty hard.
Yeah, Damien Johnson's been able to get right up onto the back of these two boys in front now. So Gibbs and Rudd have either fallen off the pace a bit, or Damien's just setting some really good lap times, and he's been able to latch onto the back of these boys. So going to be interesting to see who blinks first out of these three when it comes to pit stops.
Oh, absolutely. Rudd last time by was, sorry, Johnson last time by was a second faster than Rudd. Rudd was a lot slower than what he has been previously. Johnstone extracting a lot out of the car, and of course behind them Thomas Freeman's doing some good lap times as well. Side by side, not a very good exit there from Gibbs. Did he have a slowdown maybe? I think he might have.
But no doubt he got a slowdown there.
Yep. Very costly 2 spots. Now what do? Do you peel in this time by? There goes Rudd. Rudd's in. Johnston and Gibbs stays out. So Dylan Rudd, the first to blink out of these 3 boys. Now Gibbs, he's got more pace. Is he going to lose out now, being tucked up behind Johnstone? Would he have been better?
I think that's a very clever call from Rudd to go into the pits after he made that spot, because now he's going to have fresh tyres
and fresh air.
He's fresh air. He's just got to set a couple of good lap times, and he's going to be able to extend that gap, I think.
Absolutely. And of course, the next people back are Smart, Mulford and Masgood. That's about where he's going to come out. And McKnight. So if he's lucky, he'll come out just in front of those boys. If not, he'll be just behind them, but those boys are about to pit anyway. Then the leader of our pit stop guys at the moment is actually Dylan Rudd. Bearing in mind that James Scott still hasn't pitted. 6 seconds up the road from this group here. Obviously gets into a bit of a trance-like state, young James, I think. Head down, apexes, drives really calm and well. Likes it being clear of everybody out of the traffic. Just jump on with Matty Mascu or Tim Mulford for a second. These boys having a great little battle back here. Not much in this at all. Over Castrian, pushing the Phoenix Racing entry pretty hard by the looks. And jump back to Ben Morris, Michael Whiting. These guys still nose to tail after their pit stop.
Yeah, speaking of pit stop, Dylan Rudd has come out in pretty much fresh air. He's got Jamie McKnight a couple of seconds, 3 seconds up the, 4 seconds up the road from him. So Dylan's just got to nail a couple of laps here, and I think he's going to get a pretty decent undercut on Robert Gibbs and Damien Johnson.
Here we go. The ticker is on. The boys have come in, so we've got Johnston, Gibbs and Freeman have come in the pits this time. So as you can see, who's saved a little bit of fuel, who's done a little bit extra. I should be keeping an eye. Christian Smart goes through. Mulford, Mascord, where is Rudd? That is my question. Here comes Dylan now. Is Dylan going to make this pay? And the answer is yes. Great use of the undercut. The boys haven't even started rolling yet. Of course, McKnight's into the pits as well. A great work from Dylan Rudd. He's the man leading out of our stoppers on track. Only person in front of him to watch who hasn't stopped yet is James Scott, of course. Let's have a bit of a look here at all laps, what everyone's lapped. So Rudd came in on 15, 16 for Freeman, Young on 13. Hobson was in on 9, coming in because of that damage.
Interesting, Robert Gibbs was in the pits a lot longer than what Dylan Rudd was there. So obviously Robert taken on more fuel, I think, than the people around him. So he's looking to maintain his position in this stint of the race and looking for a short stop at the end.
Yeah, definitely a lot less time. Of course, Rudd was only in for 18.9, Gibbs for 28.3. So that's 10 seconds more worth of more fuel. So the second stop of Gibbs is going to be a quick one. We have to keep an eye on that when we get around to that second stint of pit stops, usually about round 30. As James Scott now tucks into the pits. So we'll keep an eye on how that plays out. Tom Free is still going around. He's doing some ultra fuel saving, I think. Doing 18 laps at the moment. As he's now our race leader in the blue entry Synergy Sim Racing car. And Christian Smart and Mulford are in the pits as well. So starting to see everyone get through this final stage of pit stops. As we continue on.
Yeah, I just had to rewind there to make sure Robert Gibbs didn't miss his pit box or something went wrong in the pit stop, but it looked like a clean stop, so he's obviously just taken on more fuel. So a lot of strategy at play in this race at the moment.
Absolutely, particularly with James Scott coming out behind Dylan Rudd as well. So that undercut's definitely paid off for Dylan Rudd. Just doing a quick check of the pit time between the two of them. So James Scott also doing the long stop as well, going in for 27.8. So a bit of strategy play happening out in the race at the moment. I'll be interesting to see what happens. I think the next window is roughly about lap 28 to 34. And of course, these boys that have long stopped, their window's really open to go a lot deeper than that. So we've completed our first round of stops very shortly. Tom Freer still out there with Matty Mascord in second. So 20-second difference back to Mascord, of course. So Tom doing really well lapping by himself. And exceptionally good drive from Tom at the moment. As he goes again.
Yeah, absolutely. Considering he was very last on the grid and he's now currently leading the race even though he's got a pit, but he's still done an exceptional job and picked up a ton of places on his way to getting to the lead.
Definitely making the most of that fuel tank. And Mascord is going to go again as well. So definitely a strategy from Synergy, sending two boys out long. As much as check on our championship leader, a reigning champion, Mr. Brenton Hobson. He's tucked up on his teammate Kenneth Ladder. At the moment, he's rebounded himself back into the top 10. Pretty happy with that. Damien Johnstone's back in 19th after those round of stops as well. So not sure if something's happened to Damien there or not. We'll just check some times. And yeah, Damien must have had a pit lane penalty.
Yeah, because he's been in the lane for 1 minute and 4.
Yeah.
I know that feeling.
That's championship stuff, that one. Talking about it before. These are the two protagonists for the championship. Hobson and, of course, Johnston. And we were saying before, Hobson with his damage coming in early might have cost him. But as fate has it, it's now back to advantage Hobson. In saying that, though, we haven't quite reached the halfway point of this race. There's still a long way to go. Safety car can change everything around this place. As Michael Whiting just getting passed by Ben Morris behind Hobbo. Now, these two boys have been having a good little battle here on the outskirts of the top 10 all night as well.
Yeah, still a lot to play out here tonight, but yeah, that's really unfortunate for Damien Johnston to pick up what it looks like to be a pit lane drive stationary penalty, usually around 40 seconds.
Yeah, they hurt. Of course, it's a tricky pit lane to get into, this one too. as Mascord comes into the pits. Now what are you going to do here? Big Fish, he has a look. Pulls it up alongside. And too wide, he gets the job done. Nice driving, Mr. Whiting. But don't rule out Morris coming back. Into turn one, having a look here.
Yeah, great racing from these two boys.
We're still battling away as that's good. Still in the pits. Might jump up with the speed if they want. Go back up the Kenny ladder. Oh, big slide there from what I think was Michael Whiting. The background. The ladder and Hobson still battling away. Actually, it was Troy Maguire who's lapped down. These boys battling away pretty hard. Why getting out of the way there? This is where the battle pack is. As James Scott's just set a purple lap. He's just done a 2:02.64, so let's watch that gap start to close down a bit as he hunts that 5-second gap down to Dylan Rudd. Good to see Hobbo serving up the Kenny ladder here. Plenty of bounce as he comes around the curbs. At the moment, I'm probably going to say, looking at the championship, back to Johnston. It'd be match point Hobson. Whereas Free
Definitely advantage Hobson at the moment. But another driver we haven't mentioned much tonight, but is doing an exceptional job and does an exceptional job most weeks, is Thomas Freeman. He's currently sitting P3 after Tom Freer finally gets into the pits.
Yes, Tom doing really well again. Of course, Tom, I think, was another one who pitted with a 22-second stop. So he's in the average there in between everybody. So it'd be interesting to see. He was driving relatively well before. He wasn't latching onto that back of that pack for the round of stops. So he's done well. And of course, driving Fishing Motorsports. Hobson again. Now that gap's closed right down. Expect Hobson to make a move on ladder here shortly. Now the pack's starting to spread out a little bit. Another one just keeping an eye on, of course, is Warboys. Warboys fighting his way back from the early incident, or the incident that he was avoiding. Saw him get off the track. So he's got himself back into 12th at this stage of the race. He's doing really well. Chris Smart, he's still running in 14th. No major gains there. And he's on the back of Adam Briggs in front of him, 10 gate behind. And James Chastanoof, he's up 5 spots into 11th. And Scott Nolan, of course, getting the insight from the crew chief extraordinaire tonight. He's letting us know that the ladder's on much younger tyres, which is making it harder for Hobbo to race with him. Of course, Hobbo's got himself past now.
Yeah, Hobbo got himself past going into sunset there, so good job from Hobbo. But as we've seen from Synergy Sim Racing drivers throughout the season and previous season, there's no team orders. They're free to race, and they race just as hard amongst each other as they do amongst the other competitors.
Speaking of racing hard, Tom Freer all up in the business of Paul Young getting the job done Heading down into the hairpin. Been a great drive from Tom. Now up 21 spots. Next man on the road in front of him is Gibbs, of course.
Yeah, that's just an exceptional job so far from Tom Freo. Like, to be in the top 5, you know, at the halfway point after starting at the rear of the grid is nothing short of exceptional.
Yeah, very impressive around this place. Talked about earlier with it being so bumpy, it doesn't take much to get it wrong, and it doesn't take much for getting it wrong to cost you a lot. As we're an hour and the halfway point, 22 or 44. Let's have a look, see how our friend James Scott's getting on. He hasn't really closed that gap too much. Of course, it's still out to 3.5 seconds. So he has closed it a little bit in the last lap or two.
Yeah, well, he's nearly 6/10 of a 6/10 of a second quicker on that last lap, so he may just be biding his time, not taking too much out of the tyres, knowing he's got a much shorter stop to come compared to Dylan.
Definitely what he's doing. Let's go have a look at him, the Michael Angus from Fishy Motorsports on the Supercheap Auto replay. I'm not sure, just saw this one pop up on my list. Looks like he's out-braked himself a little bit here and just taken the easy exit there at Tower. Taking the smart exit. Keep himself going again. And Blake Warboys looks like he's right up the back of James Chastanoof now.
Yeah, Blake, again, impressive. Super good driver, and he, just got caught out with somebody else's mistake and made a slight error himself, and he's really had to fight hard to get back to where he is, and he's doing a great job. We see every week Blake really just kind of doing everything he can to fight for every position, and they're super impressed with the way he's been able to come back tonight.
Side by side with Chastity coming out of the hairpin. A little bit loose there from Chastity. Might open the door up for Warboys. Coming down to Cunningham. Great driving from these two. As we head down to Tower, through Collier to Tower. Chastity trying to hang on the best he can. Two very good steerers of the Mustangs that we have in this series, these two lads.
Yeah, absolutely, and James Chastanoof currently sitting in P3 in the championship, and you don't get to that position on luck. You get there on skill and commitment, and that's what we're seeing from Chas. He doesn't give away anything lightly, and he fights for everything, so doing a great job, and I'm sure he won't let Blake go easily.
Speaking of not letting go easily, Tom Freo, using everything and a little bit extra, just got himself past Robert Gibbs. So big move from Tom. Gets himself up 22 spots now. That gap down to 2.7 seconds for Rudd and Scott. That's closing slowly. Of course, we've got 20 to go. Of course, nice composed drive. Tom in front of him, smashing through.
Yep, next up the road for Tom Freo is Thomas Freeman, about 3 seconds up the road.
No, don't worry. You can see the carrot. Tom will be on his way.
Tom Freer's last lap was a 2:02.7 and Thomas Freeman's last lap was a 2:03.8, so over a second difference in them last lap time. I'm not sure if Thomas Freeman made a mistake or whether Tom Freer was just super quick, but impressive.
And that time, 0.4 of a second faster. That fit Thomas Freeman, that's got to be playing in your mind. You know he's coming.
Yeah, absolutely. You're looking at your relative, thinking you're comfortable, and then all of a sudden you look again and the gap has halved and you start to second guess yourself.
Nicely pulls it up into the hairpin. Of course, have a quick look at the pit strategy of these boys. Don't forget too that Freer pitted on lap 20, Freeman on lap 16, so there's 4 laps difference in their tyres. So it'll be very interesting to see. Of course, so we're going to get into this next round of pit stops shortly. Probably about 4 or 5 laps time. It'll be interesting to see if Freer go a little bit deeper into the next stint. And of course, just a reminder of their pit times. See that we've got Freeman did take another 3 seconds of fuel, but the man behind these guys, Robert Gibbs, is only sitting just a little bit back behind. So when we get through this next round of pit stops, don't be surprised if we see Gibbs jump up. Don't be surprised if you see Scott jump up, as they've got 10 seconds less of fuel to put in and to get home than what the other boys will have. So you can see that strategy is a very big important part of these Supercheap Auto V8 East Coast races. And some of these guys are the best in the business for driving and thinking up strategies and changing it along the way. Like how many times when you watch Formula One now, you hear them come on the radio, plan B, plan C, plan D. You know, there's a team of strategists behind them, behind the wall with laptops, glasses and HB pencils, calculating all their strategies. A lot of the time in the V8 sim world, it's just you and yourself trying to work it out as you go. As Hobson goes in for his stop. Damien Johnson battling it out with Timmy Mulford at the moment. Damien trying to get himself back in. Big shout out to Mr. 95 himself, Sean McNamara. How are you, mate? Nice to have you in the chat. Oh! No! This has got even bigger ramifications. Damien Johnstone does a nice little 360 pirouette. Gets control and gets going again. Probably lucky he hasn't done any damage to the Mascud, so that's probably allowed, sorry, to Mulford, so it's probably allowed Mulford just to carry on. Avoid a penalty, but that's just cost him a spot.
Yeah, he's lucky to keep it off the wall there. It was in the end, it was a good save from Damien, but yeah, it's a shame that that's really probably put paid to his night now.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of putting paid to the night, the race leader, 95 Simsports, Dylan Rudd, now has James Scott within a second behind. The pressure well and truly starting to mount. As Michael Angus, one of the first ones to blink, comes out from his first stop, from his second stop, sorry. 27 seconds of fueling. And expect James Scott to be on the back here shortly. Up 27 to 44. We're ticking down. One round of pit stops to go. A little bit of lap traffic in front of these boys too, in the forms of Michael Angus from Fishy Motorsports. So that could make it rather interesting as well for helping close this gap. Of course, Thomas Freeman's only 9 seconds back. He's only just ahead of Tom Freer now. Tom Freer's done more to catch up onto the back of him.
Yeah, Freer's been just chipping away, and he's right there now. So, and same with James Scott on Dylan Rudd. James is right under the rear wing of Dylan now.
Have a look here. Such a hard corner with all those bumps as Old Sunset. Yeah, Hobart, of course, in with his final stop. Hopefully get it home, get some good result. Thanks for your help, Scott, letting us know. Ooh. Great driving. Like you literally tucked right up behind. Comes James. Big under brakes. This is where he's done it 3 times already tonight and does it again. It's exceptional car control from the leaders up the front tonight.
Yeah, I think Dylan knew that was coming and again gave enough room for James to complete the move safely for both drivers, and it's just a case of Dylan just trying to consolidate his position and try and stay with James as long as he can.
Absolutely. As we'll jump back on with Tom Freer, the man up 22 spots, start of rear grid. Great little charge. He's got himself under the back of Tom Freer. Fishy Motorsports entrant. Of course, Robert Gibbs is about 2.2 seconds behind this group here. We do know he's got a lot more fuel than these two. The last stop, so... Oh! Sweet bomb by. Must have been a slowdown in there or something.
Yeah, that was interesting because he didn't seem to slow down too much.
No.
But he slowed down enough just for Tom Freer to just go by like he was standing still.
Of course, a few people asking about Zach McDonald from 95 Sim Sports. He's sitting in 15th at the moment. Had a relatively difficult drive, caught up with a little bit of traffic early, but has settled in to a rhythm and comfortably running in 15th, which is a great effort as Kenneth Ladder's ducked into the pits. Starting now to see this round of pit stops occur. And Tom Freer, of course, clearing his heels a little bit from Tom Freeman, who he just passed. Chastity's into the pits as well, moving Warboys and Briggs into the top 10. James Scott not quite getting away from Dylan Rudd as quick as I thought he would. Dylan's managing to hang on a little bit here. These guys now starting to pick up a little bit of lap traffic, of course, in Michael Angus and Chris Miller. So of course, you want to time your pit stop so you're going to get out in clear air. Won't have to deal with too much lap traffic. Only being 2 cars, these boys aren't probably going to be too much concerned. And Chris Miller heading into the pits, of course, and Kenny Ladder's back out after his second stop. So he's the first man to peel in. He's in 14th. Hobson was the other one who peeled in. He's back in 16th. Matty Miscord in between them. James Chastaneuf back into 18th. So Hobbo's not looking too bad. He's still got a fair bit of traffic in between him and Damien Johnstone. But definitely in damage control mode has been Hobson all night. As Young, Whiting and Morris go in. And of course, the other one that's been in damage control as well has been Damien Johnstone. So we'll see how they all end up after everyone stops as we have 14 to go. And another bloke we haven't said much about tonight. He's up 6 spots in 17th. Jamie McKnight, our Old People's champion. Most winningest driver in the V8 Veteran Series. Got the car looking quite composed and quite settled. Also getting some lap time there as he sits in front of James Chastaneuf. A big shout out to Jamie, of course. We pick up Hobbo, have a look how he's going. He's got Michael Whiting right behind him. These guys all have made their second stop. Mascoot in front. We talk about veteran drivers of the V8s. These 2 drivers have been around for a while, both very classy, well known in Scops and events like the Pro Series. Hobbo with a huge following on Twitch, of course. If you haven't checked out his Twitch page, it's worth a look. Probably one of the most nicest drivers you'll ever come across in the sim. Always happy-go-lucky, young Hobbo. Battling away hard here with Michael Whiting. Come back to this battle, have a look. We go back up the front, of course. Tom Freeman. Thomas hasn't let him get too far ahead. He's hanging on just. Of course, it's going to get really exciting soon as we're going to roll into these pit stops.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at where Tom Freer is compared to where he started, he's up a ton of spots, but he's only about 9 seconds off the lead, I think. So he's actually got the leaders almost in sight. So that's an incredible drive from Tom Freer.
Yeah, very impressive. There's Matty Mascord into the pits. So does McKnight. So a few of the boys in that mid-pack now starting to roll in. Jump on board with Kenny Ladder and Tim Mulford. Ladder getting the nice inside line there. He'll hold that down into the hairpin. Nice clean driving by both drivers. Always great to see. And Michael Whiting still running around chasing Hobbo. Shaping up for a few little battles. Paul Young latched onto the back of Ben Morris as well. And Thomas Freeman's the first one to blink into the pits. Will make it interesting.
It'd be interesting to see how long Thomas Freeman stationary here.
Lock is on. Get to see when it drops off the jack. We'll have a look where Kenneth Ladder, of course, was our first P2 man. He's down the back of the Ullman Straight. With Smarts into the pits as well.
A 19-second stationary for Thomas Freeman there. I think he was about 22 seconds stationary in his first stop.
It's definitely going to roll out just in front of Ladder by a few seconds. Smart rolling back. Michael Whiting still tucked up behind Hobson. Thomas Freeman nicely got himself a good little gap here. He's about 8 seconds ahead of Ladder, so that's pretty safe. Now comes the big question. Where does Gibb, Freeman, Rudd and Scott roll out?
Yeah, looking at them pit stationary times, I think Dylan Rudd's probably going to have one of the longest stops out of this front bunch. I think Dylan's going to be stationary around 22 seconds.
That's basically what I'm getting. My little calcs in my head, yeah. So interesting to see. He does have a little bit of gap. Speaking of watching, let's go in, have a look. Here he comes. Dylan Rudd. So Freeman's definitely still circulating. Gibbs has come in as well. Of course, Gibbs went with the super long stop last time. Up around 29 seconds, so this is what I want to see. Will Gibbs jump him in the pits here? And of course, we need to keep an eye out for Tom Freeman as well, who's on the Ullman Straight. So, the battle of the pit stops. As see if I can get a better camera for us. Not that one, not that one, that one. As they're on the jacks, can't be long now. Both drop at the same time.
Rudd 25.5, Gibbs 15.
Yeah. So that'll be battle on with those two. Keep an eye on that, and they've come back out in third and fourth as well, so they've managed to stay in front of Freeman. Freeman's in this battle as well, though. Don't rule him out. Sitting right on the back of Gibbs. So the next two to watch roll the dice will be Freer and Scott. And Tim Mulford, of course, is the last one in our mid to front still to stop. Of course, Freeman with the warmer tyres here, looking a bit racy. So the Fishy Motorsport hard charger, having a cracking drive. And Mulford Whiting, this battle going right down into the chicane, into the hairpin, sorry. Side by side, a little bit of touching. Oh, a bit of a hip and shoulder. That's the old story, Robbins Racing. Ben Morris looking to get in on this action too. Lights flashing from Whiting. Big Fish not happy, I don't think.
No, he's not happy. Just going back to these pit stops, a good tactical pit stop in that first round from Dylan Rudd to pit earlier after getting past Thomas, after getting past Robert Gibbs, when Gibbs got a slow down and taking the pit stop straight away and then getting the undercut as well, and it's given him an overall advantage where even though he pitted shorter in the first round, he was able to create enough of a gap to take advantage of the gap he created.
Yeah, some very smart driving. As Mulford, Whiting and Morris. This hasn't ended yet. All young out the back, 3 wide down the Ullman Straight. A little bit deep. Morris is going to come underneath. Mulford's passed by 2 on that one. Yeah, Timmy bucking off into the pits. There's a bit of jump on. Tom Freer's come out in 5th. He's 3.8 seconds back from Freeman. So that's cost him a little bit. Of course, coming from the back of the grid, up 21 spots. I'm sure he's going to be happy to running 5th at the moment. Might just go back to that Ben Morris, Paul Young battle with a bit of entertainment. Of course, Brenton Hobson just in front of these guys. Champs managed to get himself back up into 7th, which is a sensational drive. Damien Johnstone still sitting in 19th. So in that championship battle, I'd probably say advantage Hobson. Chastanoof hasn't really capitalised on it either. He's sitting behind Hobson as well. As James Scott peels off into the pits. Keep a little bit of an eye on this. I'm assuming James rolling up to his stop. James had a very long first stop, so I'm assuming James won't be in there too long. As here comes Dylan. James is on pit exit. And Dylan in the background now going onto the straight. I think James will be all right here. I think we're talking a 6-second lead still to James Scott.
Yeah, pretty comfortable there in the end for James.
Of course, Robert Gibbs just set a purple lap with a 2:02.055. That's a cracking effort too. Because Gibbs not too far behind Rudd, so I'm interested to see whether he can push on now. No more stops.
That's a cracking lap from Robert Gibbs. No doubt he's got a bit of a toe in that, but even so, or maybe not so much of a toe, but it's an absolutely cracking lap.
No, definitely got the carrot out in front now. We can just see what Robert can do. Same thing with Thomas Freeman. He's only one and a bit seconds back, so we'll be seeing the action up here. So these laps now starting to tick down on these guys.
Yeah, just over 9 laps to go, so not a few kilometres to go, but not a whole lot of laps.
Cracking driving by these boys, though. Always impressive. Might just go back, have a check on Ben Morris. Still tucked in behind Whiting and Paul Young. So these guys here still battling those last 2 spots. Last few spots in the top 10. One of the great things about the East Coast Series, there's always a good battle somewhere going on.
Not only good battles for us to watch, but for these drivers, they're fighting tooth and nail for everything. So it's hard work from the get-go for all these boys.
Yeah. As might just jump back up the front. Have a look. Tom Freer now setting the purple sector lap with a 2:02.04. Last time by. Put that in perspective, Rudd's done a 2:02.49, Gibbs did a 2:02.66, Freeman was a 2:03.06, so that's a second quicker. So Freer now definitely on the charge.
Yeah, he's been on the charge since the lights went green, hasn't he?
Definitely see the Fishy Motorsports car in front. That carrot's been waved in front of him. Only one more to get there. It's now less than a second, the gap. Only 2 seconds up the road to Gibbs from there. Got 36 of 44 done. Might be thinking up 22, 23 spots might be good. That podium, that'd be a nice taste.
Yeah, without a doubt. You can see the only driver he can't see at the moment, I think, is James Scott. Everybody else is within his sight, so he'll be super motivated.
Thomas doing really well.
In saying that, none of the boys in front of him will give up a spot easily. They are all very, very accomplished racers, and there'll be no freebies here.
Absolutely, with James Scott, of course, just peeling off a 201.71.
With his arm out the window.
Yep. Of course, Freya was a 202.36. Still a second quicker than Freeman, so I think Freeman's definitely in the sights now. If he can keep that pace, I don't think he'll have too much trouble. As you can see, he's closing right up on him. I'll lift to the hand on the wheel and saying, remember me. Right, I just missed something there. It's nicely gone straight through. Maybe Freeman knowing he hasn't got the tyres to battle.
Yeah, made that very, very easy for Tom Freya, and probably just smart racing there from Thomas. We've seen that all season where he's just made his own race, he's done his own thing, and it's paid dividend for him nearly every week. So yeah, Thomas is a very smart racer.
Well, it's just nicely hanging onto the back now. Oh, Fishy Motorsports. So everyone wants to go down the back, have a bit of a look at some of the other battles. Warboys caught right up to the back of Chastanoof. A little drive from Blake. Not much in this battle either. I expect Warboys to close this one down.
Yeah, it's been a hard-fought comeback from Blake after getting caught out a little bit earlier in the first couple of laps of the race. So he's just had to chip away all night, and he's just steadily made progress all night. Same for Adam Briggs. Adam Briggs was at the very end of the pack after the third or fourth lap, and he's managed to get his way back into 12th spot at the moment.
Of course, carrying a penalty. Might go as well. He's going to jump back on Thomas Freeman. He's still latched onto the back of Tom Freya. He's let him through, but he hasn't let him disappear. Wallboy's still battling away with Chastanoof. Might just jump back up to that. There's not much in it. Side by side, down in the turn 2. Not an easy spot to go 2 by 2 through here. Briggsy will be liking this. Wallboys gets the job done. And jump on Tom Freya now. Freeman's coming back at him.
Yeah, I'm just watching this battle. Very interesting. I just wonder whether Thomas made a slight mistake and ran wide, and that enabled Tom to get through. But yeah, Tom's got through, but he hasn't been able to gain not even an extra metre at the moment.
Definitely earning it. And it's going to jump back up onto Robert Gibbs as well. Robert Gibbs has caught back up to Dylan Rudd now.
Just coming up with 6 laps to go, so very interesting final 6 laps for this second, third, fourth, fifth place battles.
Yeah, definitely be interesting to see how these all play out over the next 10 minutes. And Jump back with Briggs. Briggs is now caught up with Chastanoof. It's turning into a little battle pack here at the end as well. Closing it in. Oh, Chris Miller in the background there coming off. That was the screeching noise we could hear. I think he'll get it going again, and he has. Briggs might be on here, coming down into the hairpin. Chastity goes defensive on the inside. Briggs goes further in. Can't get it done. It's going to go back up. Check on Freer and Freeman.
Still not a lot in these two, and Robert Gibbs was about 4/10 of a second quicker than Dylan Rudd on that previous lap. So, oh no, Thomas Freeman sideways.
Managed to keep it on the track though. He's going to lose that time, probably overheat his tyres. So that's probably him out of that battle pack.
Yeah, he'd be frustrated with that.
Doesn't take much. Doesn't take much at all. And
that will also aid Tom Freer. He won't be watching behind him so much now. He's got that space and he can just focus on what's in front of him.
see if he can get himself onto the podium, which would be an epic drive. Keep an eye. I'd sit on Gibbs. This gives me what I want. Gibbs to Rudd.
Again, Gibbs about 2.5 quicker than Rudd, and Tom Freer was nearly a second quicker than Dylan Rudd on that previous lap. So Tom Freer is coming.
Here we go. Freer had a purple sector for sector 1. Sector 2, so you can see it's slowly creeping in, but he's definitely got the carrot in front, head down, and we know that Rudd and Gibbs are battling a little bit as well. See, that's closing in every sector. Well, skill went up. Look after your tyres a little bit still, so you got some left when we get down into the last part of this race. Another thing you've always got to consider, how these guys go about their business.
Yeah, you got to manage everything, especially your tyres on a track like this, and with the temperatures we're seeing on the track. It's you've really got to stay cool, calm, and collected.
Track's temperature still 40 degrees. Finished off with a purple sector as well, so Freeman's absolutely flying at the moment. Last lap at 2:03.15 versus Gibbs 2:03.36. Nearly got that gap down to under 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, I think he's probably just going to run out of
Laps,
laps. Gibbs and Rudd really start going door to door, which may slow them down a bit and then open up the opportunity for Freer to latch right onto the back. But I just get a feeling he's going to run out of laps here.
Yep. Still an epic drive though to get up 22 spots.
Yeah, we've seen this type of drive from Tom before as well, but he just hasn't quite had the luck where he's either been caught up in someone else's accident or he's made a slight error or something on his own. He just hasn't quite been able to finish it off. But tonight, fingers crossed, he's going to finish this one off and, you know, really consolidate what an epic performance it was tonight.
Just going to have a quick look for the Roy Clark fans tonight. We're going to have a look at Warren Davis and Banter Elias on the Supercheap Auto replay. I think maybe stuck in a wall somewhere. Maybe not.
I think he just pulled to the side to let all the leaders
Oh.
through.
Nice little slide. Anyway. Nice work, Warren. Hasn't gotten anyone's way. Done a reasonable job of that one. Go back to live picks. And jump up onto this Rudd Gibbs battle. This is starting to hotten up now too. Of course, Robert Gibbs, seen him a few times in the East Coast Series this season. Very racy driver, very respectful driver. I think 3 laps left. These boys are going to battle to the end, I think. This is the battle for second and third. Race leader James Scott's 13 seconds up the road from these two.
Yeah, only 2.5 laps to go, so it's not over yet for second and third.
Absolutely. Chervais James in the chat. Banter Alliance muscle man. Where is the great legend Roy Clark? Very much missed at a track like Sebring. Damien Johnstone's just been involved in something. Might just quickly have a look at that. I think he's found himself at the wrong end of Sunset. And coming in. A little bit loose. He's into the wall. That's not good. That's going to push him a bit further down the order now that he's in pits.
Yeah, a bit of a night to forget for Damien, unfortunately.
That Tom's Freya's getting a bit closer. That gap's down to 1.5 now. But not long to go now. Dylan Rudd looking very well composed here.
Yeah, lap and a half to go.
Rudd's managed to get away a little bit here. That gap's out to about half a second. Michael Stewart in front here. Will lap traffic become a part of the story as it unfolds here at the end? Of course, while we're battling here, the boys are still battling at the back as well with Paul Young and Ben Morris. Having a good little battle. And Adam Briggs getting very racy on War Boys. And looks like Briggs is going to get War Boys here. Maybe, maybe not. Of course, Roy Clark doing Celtic dancing. I thought he might have been doing night courses learning the drive, but who am I to speak? It's continuing on. Might just keep an eye on that battle up front. because that's closed right up again as well. Kenny Ladder's in a battle as well. Brenton Hobson about to pick up another spot. Maybe, maybe not. There's the white flags out now, so this will be pretty big for Hobson if he can get past Ladder. That'll get him up into 6th. Pushing Ladder all the way. As we jump back to this little group here. Trevo Jones suggesting Roy Clark's out driving an Uber to improve. Braver man than me with Sydney traffic.
Dylan Rod's been able to open that gap up to Robert Gibbs, and now we're seeing Tom Freer right there on the back of Robert Gibbs with half a lap to go.
This is going to come down, I think, to the Ullman Straight, I think. One last time through Sunset for these boys. And speaking of last time down the Ullman Straight, James Scott's just turning onto it now through Le Mans. Stay with this battle here a little bit. Great drive from Tom Freer.
I think Tom Freer got a bit of a slowdown there, unfortunately.
This man hasn't. He hasn't been slowed down all night. Congratulations. Great race win to James Scott. Jump back here. Coming through Sunset now, Dylan Rudd. He's going to hold off Robert Gibbs for the podium. Might be right. Oh, be flying around too much. Brings it home in 2nd from Gibbs in 3rd. Thomas Freeman's going to come home in 4th.
Yeah, Tom Freer had to pull right off the track there to clear a slowdown by the look of it.
Hobson's going to get around in front of Ladder. That gets him up one more spot in the 6th. Great recovery drive from the champ. Kenny Ladder home in 7th. Ben Morris is going to hold off 8th, I think, from Paul Young. This is the other epic battles, Warboys and Briggs. Warboys is going to manage to hold him off here with Chastaneef hanging on the back. What a great drive from these two. Not much in that. Not much in that at all. It's come back to Briggs, Chastaneef, Christian Smart's going to be 13th. Great drive from Christian. Always Mr. Consistent. Dengate up 6 spots. He's going to bring it home in 14th. Not much seat time for young H at the moment with HSC, but great to see him making a few spots. Zach McDonald from 95 Sim Sports, home in 15th. Matty Mascord, 16th. Jamie McKnight up 6 spots in the 17th. Great drive from Jamie. The old people's champion. Great little finish. Timmy Mulford. He's had some great battles tonight. Probably come out a little bit worse for wear, looking at the paint scheme. But I think he'd be happy to bring it home in 18th. Great little drive for him. And of course, Michael Angus and Michael Stewart be the next one in 20th. And then Warren Davis. He's doing relatively okay. He's going to finish where he started in 21st. And then in 22nd, it'll be Funky Miller. Damien Johnstone back in 23rd. Like we said, probably a night to forget for Damien. Assuming that he will be hoping this one could be one of his drops. But it has been probably an epic race, Mark, for James Scott, Dylan Rudd, and of course for Robert Gibbs.
Yeah, absolutely. James Scott doing exactly what we expect James Scott to do and dominating. Great drive. Also a great tactical drive from Dylan Rudd. He used his racecraft. He used the tactical battle in the pit stops to gain a position on Robert Gibbs and was able to maintain that, even though he had a lot shorter stop in the first stint. He used enough of that tactical nous to stay in front. Thomas Freeman, another great drive. As something we expect from Thomas. He just chips away and chips away. And what about Tom Free off the back of the grid,
Driver of
up
the
in the
day.
5th spot? Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt, driver of the day for Tom Frere.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Very entertaining drive as well from Tom. We might quickly have a chat to our third place man, Mr. Robert Gibbs. How are you, Robert?
Good, thanks, mate. Good.
Good. How'd you find that one?
Tiring.
Tiring.
Yeah, I've had it. I'm ready for bed.
Yeah, you had some good battles in that, mate. You showed some good pace, and yeah, you did really well.
Yeah, well, don't know where I got that pace from. I think it's the setup that the guys gave me, being bucket loads better than what I had the other night. But no, it was good to have a couple good cracks and have some race in there.
Yeah, and anyone you want to give a shout out to, mate?
Yeah, just the team at ERT for doing the setup for me, and Logitech G for being on board.
Right, pretty cool. And we'll have a chat to our second place man, Mr. Dylan Rudd from 95 Sim Sports. Geez, you had your work cut out for you tonight, Dylan.
Yeah, it was not bad. Just a bit of really set up testing for tomorrow night.
Yeah, it looks like you're in for a hard night tomorrow night. We're all going to be racing that close together.
Yeah, that's it.
And mate, anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, just all the boys in the 9-5 team and our sponsors, Racecraft Simulations, Turn In Race Apparel, RSW Graphics, Racing Use Custom Use Protection, Cutting Edge Tracks, and RB Media.
Cheers, mate. And we'll have a quick chat to our race winner, Mr. James Scott. Congratulations, James.
Thanks, mate.
How'd you find that one, mate?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Car obviously felt pretty good from running Scops yesterday. I don't know what yesterday, the day before. But yeah, just trying to get my iron again for tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Car feels pretty good. And the tyre life was pretty decent, I think, for around here. So happy with that. And yeah, just sat behind in the first stint for those first 10 laps or whatever and saved some fuel and everything. And when I thought I'd done enough, I made some moves.
It's fair enough. I'll tell you what, I'll save you the shout outs tonight because we've got Tom in here as well, because Tom Freer is our driver of the day. Congratulations, Tom.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
22 cars, that's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I was trying to have a crack at Gibbs at the end, but I sort of psyched myself out and got to slow down. But oh well, good fun.
Yeah, we all thought if you had another 2 laps, you would have had him. So yeah, you're definitely showing plenty of pace. So you're happy with your setup heading into tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think so. Like I ran Scops on the weekend and made a meal of that, but I think the last day or two I've just sort of really worked on pretty much maintaining tyres, and that's the first time I've had a race where I don't think I've had massive tyre wear. So I think it's working. So hopefully it works tomorrow.
Oh, that's good. Of course, you're the last SSR man standing, so I'll let you do the team shout-outs.
This is on the spot. I can't remember my sponsors. All right, so there's Wave Runner, obviously, which is J Ross. If I don't mention that, I'll get a slap. What else we got? We got Dr. Epoxy, Works Race Engineering, which has come on this year, which is pretty cool. And yeah, Parramatta Isuzu is another one, which is Jamie McKnight. So yeah, thanks to those guys.
And what's the favourite one that everyone forgets? Dr. Epoxy.
Yeah, that one.
Is he got them all, James?
Yeah.
James knows them not by heart. Has he got them all,
I
James?
think you did a pretty good job. I will correct that it is now Watercraft Performance Center, not Wave Runner. So.
Oh no, so I will get a slap. Right.
Of course, big shout out to J Ross as well, big supporter of this series. And on that note, boys, a quick question. Last round next week at Sandown. Any thoughts about tackling that old race course?
Yeah, Sandown's pretty fun track. We got a good setup there from last time, so it should just be pretty good, hopefully.
That sounds good. And anything from you, Dylan or Robbie?
Yeah, Sandown's fun track to drive. Always good fun in the draft train. So yeah.
Fair enough. On that note, guys, a big thank you to Mark Duggan. Nice to have you back after your holiday, mate. Big thank you to the boys down in Race Control. Big thank you, of course, to all the drivers who put on such an awesome show that we have on here. And a big thank you to everyone who comes along and watches every Tuesday night at us talking about cars going around and around. And we'll be back again next Tuesday night at 10 to 8 to do the same thing again. So big thank you to everybody, and we'll see you all then.
Thanks, John. Thanks to all the boys. Great racing. Look forward to Sandown.
Thanks, Mark, and see you all then.
There's no arguing that people love their cars.
We weren't arguing.
They talk about their cars, sing about their cars. Some people even look like their car. Whether it's an old car, new old car, fast car, family car, electric car, race car, two-wheel car, no-wheel car, or a car you know's parked around here somewhere. People who love their cars love to tinker with them. Some people tinker big, some people tinker small, some people tinker some degree between those two variables.
Whose voice is that?
And that's where Supercheap Auto comes in. We've been helping people tinker for 50 years. For people like Bill, Lucy, Kevin, other Kevin.
Oi, get off my car!
Didn't catch this guy's name.
It's Kevin.
Not Patrick. He doesn't shop with us. Whoever you are, whatever you drive, we'll help you make it super. Because super is our middle name. Well, technically it's our first.